Tere tulemast tagasi Vabalava saali siin Tallinnas ja tere ka teile, kes te olete kodus külmkapi kõrval oma laptopis ja jälgite meie ülekannet. Lõunapaus on lõppenud ja ootustele vastavalt on 98,2% osalejaid tagasi siin saalis. Ja nüüd kutsun lavale, enne veel slido.com. Meile saab küsimusi esitada nutivahendi kaudu ja number on 4085884. Saalis saate ka suuliselt küsimusi esitada, andke käega märku. Aga enne kutsume siia endise Ugala teatri direktrissi ja nüüd praeguse Vanemuise teatri direktrissi Kristiina Alliksaare. Aplaus igatepidi.
Aitäh, tere päevast. Ma pean alustuseks ütlema, õudselt halvasti ma näen teid on ja nüüd on see tunne, mis artistidel lava peal on tavaliselt üldse ei tea, kes saalis on ja publiku silmi ei näe, aga mul on tõesti erakordselt hea meel, et see päev täna toimub. Ja sellepärast on kuidagi eriti liigutav siin teie juures ka seista. Ma saan aru, et eelmiste esinejatega sai juba väikeseks tavaks ennast ka kirjeldada. Naisterahvas, 42-aastane, rohelised silmad, 168 sentimeetrit. Mitte just paks, aga ma endale ütlen hellitavalt kohev kergelt. Juuksed ja kõrvade all servani, kartulikoorevärvi pruunid kergelt lokkis, jalas teksapüksid ja pruunid nahast saapad, teksapükste all ääred veidi üles keeratud, must teesärk, mille peal on siniseruuduline selline kangast pintsak, pintsaku varukad on ka kergelt üles kääritud. Enam-vähem sai pilt ette, eks ju. Hästi lühidalt minu taustast ka, sest ma olen lubanud täna teha kõige kiirema ettekande, mis ma suudan, sest me nõksa oleme ajahädas. Ma olen sündinud ja kasvanud pisitillukeses kohas Olustveres ja minu taust on Viljandimaal. Aga kuidas ma sain kontakti kogu ligipääsetavuse teemaga on tänu minu kallile sõbrale Piret Ausile. Piret on jutumärkides süüdi selles, et ma selle teemaga üldse ühel hetkel rohkem seotud olen olnud ja kõige suuremaks verstapostiks, meie ühiseks verstapostiks sellel teel ilmselt oli nüüdseks juba 10 aastat tagasi peaaegu toimunud festival Puude taga on inimene, kus me püüdsime siis koos erinevate inimeste ja organisatsioonidega korraldada sellise festivali, mis oleks ligipääsetav niivõrd, kui me seda tollel hetkel suutsime teha Tallinna Lauluväljakul. Ja sealt sain mina selle teemaga siis selle süsti. Nüüd minu jaoks on hästi oluline öelda ka seda, et ma kindlasti ei ole mingi ligipääsetavuse ekspert. Kõiges selles, mida mina olen teinud ja mida te täna kuulete, on meeletult palju ka puudusi. Aga need on mingid esimesed sammud, mingid näited. Mõnes mõttes on nad selles osas kurvad näited, et oleks ju tore, kui me tänasel päeval saaks juba tuua selliseid täiuslikke näiteid, mida on tehtud. Täiuslikud nad kindlasti ei ole. Aga nad on samm edasi ja see on ka ilmselt oluline. Mul on au olla Eestis olnud 2 teatrijuht. 2014 sai minust Ugala teatrijuht, Ugala teater, millel käib, kui ma eksi, 103. hooaeg juba ehk vana ja väärikas teater. Ja ma panin siia Ugala teatri trooni foto just nimelt selle pärast, et kui ma seda nüüd püüan kirjeldada, siis nii see hoone kui hoone ümbrus koosneb ainult astmetest. Ta on sakiline, mitmetasandiline, nagu kaskaadne, võib öelda, ja arhitektidel oli sellega täiesti teadlik mõte, et see hoone oleks justkui nagu voolav. Igatepidi voolav, et see siis julgustaks ja toetaks loomingut. Igasugust loomingut. Ja tollel hetkel, kui see maja avati 1981, siis keegi ei rääkinud mingist ligipääsetavusest. Ehk selleks, et sinna majja üleüldse sisse pääseda, pidi enne remonti läbima väga palju astmeid. väga palju astmeid. Ja siis sa jõudsid ka ainult garderoobi. Ja siis, et pääseda esimesele tasandile, olid astmed. Et pääseda saali, olid astmed. Et pääseda saalil tooli peale, olid astmed. Kohvikusse astmed. Ainult see maja koosneski astmetest. 2017, kui maja tuli remondist ja renoveeriti, siis see olukord on oluliselt palju parem. Siin on üks vahva foto ühest Ugala ligipääsetavast etendusest. Kirjeldan natukene, et foto peal on 4 näitlejad, 2 meest, 2 naist, rõõmsa näoga, kõrvaklapid peas. Ja justkui siis tehtud selle mõttega, mis foto, mida me kasutasime, et promoda, mis see ligipääsetav etendus on või et kutsuda inimesi ligipääsetavale etendusele, et nad on siis nende tõlkeaparaatidega siin. Nüüd, et oleks veel ära öeldud, siis ajalugu ei alga kaugeltki minust. Ehk mais 2010 toimus tegelikult Sylvi Sarapuu eestvedamisel Piret Ausi korraldatuna Ugala teatris esimene kirjeldustõlkega etendus. Ma ei tea, Piret, sa võid noogutada või raputada, kas oli ligipääsetav etendus, ehk kas seal oli ka... Oli ainult kirjeldustõlkega etendus, eks ju? Esimene kirjeldustõlge.
Ja see oli väikeses saalis ja 160 kohta saalis ja pimedaid ja nägemispuudega inimesi ja nende saatjaid kokku oli ligi 80, pluss 5 juhtkoera, kes mõnusasti nohisesid toolide all. Aga see oli tõesti ainult kirjeldustõlkega ja kirjeldustõlke siis koostas Mantas,
kes oli tollel hetkel esimene ja ainukene.
Jah, Sylvi oli nii. Sylviga noogutab.
Sylviga noogutab, just. Ja et tõe huvides veel ära öelda, et see ei olnud siis ka tollel hetkel Eesti ainukene, mis toimus, et samal aastal toimus ka veel VAT-teatris kirjeldustõlkega etendus, 2002 ka VAT-teatris ja Endlas ja 2013 Draamateatris, et Sylvi on need andmed tegelikult Kakora kodulehele ilusti kokku kogunud. Sealt saab vaadata seda kronoloogiat, et kuidas kirjeldustõlkega etenduste teema üldse peale hakkas. Ja esimene siis Ugalas 3 meest paadis. Siis kui 2017 maja tuli remondis, siis olid Ugala võimalused hoopis teistsugused. Esiteks oli Ugalas võimalik anda paralleelselt 2 saalis etendusi, mida enne ei olnud võimalik teha, siis mõlemas saalis oli olemas tõlkeboks, et oleks üleüldse võimalik sujuvalt ja ladusalt ka kirjeldustõlget teha. Siis teater oli omale ostnud ka tõlketehnika, nii et see tehniline vajadus oli kõik meie enda poolt olemas, me ei pidanud selleks kedagi teist enam leidma. Suurde saali oli paigutatud silmusvõimendi, millest siin eelpool oli ka juttu. Miks silmusvõimendit ei paigaldatud väikesesse saali? Väikene saal on black box sarnane nagu see siin ja saali mõte oli see, et publiku tribüüni on võimalik igas suunas liigutada ja saali asetada täpselt nii, nagu üks või teine lavastus seda nõuab. Ehk siis oleks pidanud selle tribüüniga kaasa liikuma ka silmusvõimendi. Tollel hetkel sellist head tehnilist lahendust ei olnud. Võib-olla tänaseks juba on. Nüüd, kuhu ma põrkusin kohe väga kiiresti, oli see, et ma soovisin ka sellele majale teha siis kõigepealt näiteks füüsilise ligipääsetavuse auditi. Sellist teenust tollel hetkel ma kusagilt tellida ei saanud. Läbi tuttavate kontaktide leidsin ühe asjaliku ratastoolis poisi, kes ütles, et tavai, ma sõidan läbi sul maja, vaatan, millele ma oskan tähelepanu juhtida. Ta suures osas kiitis maja heaks. Samas peab ka arvestama, et tegemist oli tugeva mehega, kelle jaoks nii mõnigi ramp on võib-olla lihtsasti läbitavam kui mõnele mitte nii tugevale ratastoolis sõitjale. Aga ta tõi ka päris palju parandamist vajavaid kohti, mille peale meie ise näiteks ei tule. Et näiteks, et invatualeti all servas võiks olla plekk, sest kui sa seda lükatavat ust avad, siis sa tahes-tahtmata sõidad ratastooli rattaga sinna pihta, et te lõhutame ukse ära niimoodi väga kiiresti. Näiteks sellised asjad, mille peale mina mitte kuidagi ei saanud tulla. Ja sellest oli väga abi. Siis, ja samamoodi nagu enne juttu oli ka, et invatualetis peegli kõrgus, või ka invatualeti raami tugevus, et näiteks see härra tõi välja ka, et väga tihti paigaldatakse sinna lihtsalt kõige lihtsam, kõige odavam raam, aga kui temasugune 120 kilo sinna peale vajub, siis on krõps ja kohe katki. Et sellest ei ole mingit kasu. Ja ühtlasi leidsime ühe sellise huvitava vea, huvitava jutumärkides jällegi, et invatualetis oli küll see ohusignaali nupp, aga ei olnud seadistatud, et kuhu see signaal jõuab. Et kui sa hädas oled ja nuppu vajutad, siis see jääb sinna plingima, aga keegi ei tea siis sulle sinna appi tulla. Leidsime ka selle, ühenduse üles sai infolauaga ilusti ühendatud, saime tööle. Et kõik sellised asjad, mille peale sa lihtsalt ei tule ise. Siis võtan veel ühe sammu võrra tagasi, mis puudutas näitetruppi. Siis neile tuli ka selgitada, et mis asi on kirjeldustõlkega etendus. Sellepärast, et saalis neil on siis mingi kogus inimesi, kelle jaoks olukorda kirjeldatakse ja see info jõuab neile väikese viitega. Ehk inimesed saalis võivad naerda nagu veidi hiljem, kui ülejäänud saal naerab. Ja selleks, et näitlejad saaksid aru, et miks see nii on, siis me püüdsime eelnevalt selgitada, et mis saalis hakkab juhtuma, mis sellega aga kaasnes. Kõik olid väga abivalmis, avatud, et väga tore, et me sellist etendust teeme. Kaasnes 2 asja näitlejate poolt. Esiteks, pärast etendust ütlesid neist nii mõnedki, et lõualuud on valusad, sest diktsioon läks palju paremaks, kuna nad said aru, et väga palju infot tuleb läbi nende teksti. Et nad ei saa slikerdada siis tekstiga kuidagi. Tekst peab olema väga selgelt artikuleeritud. Aga teine asi, mida me pidime siis pärast korrigeerima ja tagasisidet andma, näitlejad hakkasid ise etendust kirjeldama. Oma tegevusi. Ma lähen nüüd pliidi juurde ja hakkan muna praadima. Ja see lõi kogu meie kirjeldustõlke pusle sassi. Et mida siis nüüd tõlkida ja mida mitte, et nad püüdsid olla abivalmis, aga järelikult oli ka minu poolt juhendamata, et ärge seda palun tehke. Järgmine etendus läks juba palju ladusamalt. Siis tekkis ka küsimus või arutasime omavahel, et mida teha intellektipuudega inimestega. Et kuidas me neid saaks aidata, sest Viljandi ümber on päris mitu intellektipuudega kodu. Et kas me saaksime neile ka midagi pakkuda. Ja me leidsime kambakesi sellise huvitava lahenduse, et mis puudutab seda sama lihtsat teksti, siis Ugala teatril oli repertuaaris lavastus Vai, vai, vaene Vargamäe, mis oli Tõe ja õiguse esimene osa, aga tehtud lastele. Ehk tegelikult täiesti, nagu see sama lihtsa teksti võrdlus sobib siia, et ta on täiesti nagu Tõde ja õigus, aga veidi lihtsamal kujul lihtsalt. Ja kuna me arvasime ka, et kirjeldustõlkega etendusi nagunii võiks ka teha ju lastele, miks ainult täiskasvanutele, täpselt samamoodi ka lastele, siis me kutsusime sellele lastele mõeldud kirjeldustõlkega etendusele ka intellektipuudega inimesed. Ka nemad said läbi teha selle lava kompamise, et mis seal laval on, ma ei tea, mis asi on vikat, mis on heinasaad, lehmal on nisad. Kõik sellised asjad nad said ka läbi kombata ja läbi vaadata, et neil oleks lihtsam aru saada sellest, mis siis etendusest toimuma hakkab. Siis mida Ugala poolt välja tuua, ehk kõik see, mis puudutab seda majanduslikku poolt ja toetust, et kuidas me saaksime lubada neid ligipääsetavaid etendusi, siis see oli väga juhuslik ja väga isikutepõhine. Ehk see on ka tõenäoliselt üks põhjus, miks täna Ugala teatris ligipääsetavaid etendusi ei ole. Ja järjepidevuspoolik, mis on siis minu jaoks suur õppetund, ehk minust ei jäänud majja maha inimesi, kelle südameasis oleks olnud. Ma küll püüdsin kaasata erinevaid inimesi, aga järelikult see ei olnud piisav ja see side katkes. Nüüd edasi Vanemuine. Vanemuine on selles mõttes keerulisem väljakutse, et Vanemuine tegutseb 3 majas, isegi tegelikult 4, kui me võtame sinna teatrikodu juurde, aga räägime praegu 3. Nüüd selle suure maja puhul on juba esimene väljakutse see, et nagu eespool ettekandja poolt ka tuli segadus, et meie suur maja jaguneb 2 pooleks ehk paremal pool. Mul on see nupu näitamise värk siin. Ma ei tea, kas te näete, vaata see pool. Jah. See pool on Vanemuise kontserdimaja, kuulub Eesti Kontserdile, haldab Eesti Kontsert. See Vanemuise teatrisse mitte kuidagi ei puutu. Meil on üks ühine sein, aga see on ka kõik, mis meil ühine on tegelikult. Nüüd teatrimaja on teisel pool ja Vanemuise suurmaja kuulub sihtasutusele Vanemuise teater ehk ka kõik remonditööd või täiendused, mis me seal teeme, tulevad teatri oma tulust. Sellega me peame arvestama. Nüüd Vanemuise väikemaja, keskmine siin, on muinsuskaitse all olev väga ilusti renoveeritud maja, mille puhul just muinsuskaitse seab füüsilise ligipääsetavuse puhul erinevaid tingimusi. Sellest lähtuvalt ongi kaldtee meil ära peidetud justkui sisehoovi, seda ei tohi sinna ette paigaldada, ehk teatrist sõltumata on seal mingid ebamugavused. Hea pool jällegi on see, et Vanemuise väikest maja haldab Riigi Kinnisvara Aktsiaselts. Neil on ilmselgelt ka vahendeid rohkem, ka näiteks remondivahendeid ja praegu me olemegi läbirääkimistes, et ka Vanemuise väike maja võiks saada maja sisesed taktiilsed märgistused. Näiteks, ma ei tea, mummud treppide ette. Kõik võimalikud lahendused, mida me suudame välja mõelda ja enne testida loomulikult ja konsulteerida, neil on olemas vahendid ja teadmine, kuidas seda teha. Nüüd Sadamateater, millest oli ka enne juttu, on omaette ooper, see kuulub eraomanikule ja Vanemuine seda rendib. Ja kõik muudatused, mida me seal teeme, peavad olema kooskõlastatud eraomanikuga ja see on omaette väljakutse. Sellest ka siis selle 3 maja kõige suurem erinevus. Nüüd Vanemuise puhul siin on 2 fotot. Need fotod on kirjeldustõlkega lavastuse Kalevipoja etenduselt Sadamateatris. Ülemisel pildil on tõlkeaparatuuri taga. Alumisel fotol on inimesed laval tutvumas lavakujundusega. Vanemuise erisus on veel see, et 2 majas ehk suures majas ja väikeses majas on subtiitrite näitamine justkui tavapärane ja seda seal tehakse kogu aeg, Sadamateatris jällegi mitte. Siis silmusvõimendi, nagu eelnevalt ka juttu oli, on meil kahjuks ainult suures majas. Füüsiline ligipääsetavus on olemas, aga mitte iseseisev ja mitte väga mugav. Taktiilseid lahendusi täna ei ole mitte üheski majas. Ja mis seal salata, lihtne tekst on ka minu jaoks täna ikkagi veel võrdlemisi uus teema ja sellega ei ole Vanemuise ega ilmselt ka Ugala puhul või üldse mõne Eesti teatri puhul veel üldse jõutud tegeleda. Vanemuise puhul on oluline öelda, et suur tugi ja huvi on Tartu linnavalitsuselt ehk enne, kui mina jõudsin Vanemuisesse tööle, helistas mulle Tartu abilinnapea Mihkel Lees ja küsis, et sa tegid seal Ugalas neid ligipääsetavaid etendusi, mis sul selleks vaja on? Ja nii meie koostöö algas ja nii algasid ka ligipääsetavad etendused Vanemuises. Nüüd jällegi omaette teema on see, et Mihkel Lees, aktiivne ja väga tore poliitik, kandideerib Riigikogusse, kui tema lahkub Tartust, mis selle rahastusega saab? Keegi ei tea täna. Loodame, et läheb hästi, aga ei pruugi minna. Vanemuise ajaks on valdkond oluliselt arenenud. Meil on olemas kirjeldustõlke OÜ näiteks. Konkreetne partner, kelle poole pöörduda kirjeldustõlke saamiseks. Meil on olemas väga tubli partner Lõuna-Eesti Pimedate Ühing, kellega me käime läbi repertuaari, lepime ette kokku, milliseid lavastusi nad soovivad, et tõlgitaks. Ehk see ei ole ainult teatri pakutud, ma arvan, et teater näiteks ei oleks Luikede järve pakkunud. Aga see soov tuli Pimedate Ühingult, et nad sooviksid balletti. Ja tõlgid ütlesid muidugi, pole probleemi, tõlgime ära. Siis tänaseks Vanemuises ongi meil kalendriaastas vähemalt 6 ligipääsetavat etendust. Sealhulgas on juba toimunud ooper ja balleti etendus. Tulge julgelt, istuge. Kõik on okei, te ei sega üldse. Sealhulgas siis ooper ja ballett, kas see arv kasvab? Ma täna julgen kahelda, sellepärast, et üks väljakutse, millega me tegeleme, on see, et ma ei ole lõpuni kindel, kas info jõuab ikkagi täpselt sinna, kuhu ta peaks jõudma, sest ei saa öelda, et see huvi oleks liiga suur, minu enda ootus võib-olla oli teine. Teiseks ei saa ma ka eeldada, et need 6 kuupäevaga kõigile, kes soovivad, sobiksid. Et see on ka täiesti arusaadav ja sellega me peame ka arvestama. Ja võib-olla areng Vanemuise puhul Ugalaga võrreldes on veel see, et täna ei tegele ligipääsetavusega enam teatrijuht. Ehk ma olen leidnud meeskonna, ma olen jaotanud ära ülesanded. Ehk kui teatrijuht vahetub, mida ikka juhtub, siis ma väga loodan, et ligipääsetavus jääb Vanemuisesse edasi. Ja selle teemaga tegeletakse, sest tiim on olemas. Kokkuvõte, mida ma sellest teemast tahaks rääkida? Ligipääsetavuse maaletooja Eestis on ikkagi Sülvi. Ma arvan, et enamus, kes vähegi Sülvit teavad, võivad noogutada, et nii see ilmselt on. Tänaseks on meid siin juba pool saalitäit, kes kaasa mõtlevad. Ehk mida rohkem me sellest teemast räägime, seda selgemaks see saab. Seda rohkem on inimesi, kes oskavad sellele tähelepanu juhtida, küsida küsimusi, juhtida otsustajate tähelepanu sellele, mida võiks teisiti teha. Jah, alati tundub, et on liiga vähe, et on liiga aeglaselt, aga need on tegelikult keerulised teemad, sest iga lavastuse ligipääsetavaks tegemine tegelikult hõlmab endas väga palju aspekte. Alates sellest, et kas tõlkefirmal on vaba tehnika selleks õhtuks, ma ei tea, kas tõlgid on vabad, seal on palju erinevaid ka tehnilisi aspekte. Ja ühtlasi muutuvad ju kogu aeg ka tehnilised lahendused ja nende võimalused. Siis selge, et tänased lahendused on poolikud, aga ma olen absoluutselt veendunud, et poolik lahendus tänases olukorras on parem kui mitte midagi. Meil on vähemalt mingi alus, kust edasi minna. Siis mida mina olen igal pool, võib öelda vist jutlustamas käinud, et väga palju on võimalik ära teha ka ilma suurte investeeringuteta, et ei pea kohe ükskõik kellega ligipääsetavusest räägid kultuurivaldkonnas. Esimene tagasiside on kohe, et aga meil ei ole raha. On väga palju neid asju, mida saab ära teha ka ilma rahata ja see on tahte küsimus. Ja jällegi, mida rohkem me sellest räägime, seda rohkem ka see tahe suureneb. Nüüd siiski siit edasi, selleks, et see valdkond areneks, näen mina, et meil on ikkagi vaja selget struktuuri ja süsteemi. Et lihtsalt sellest õhina põhisusest tegelikult enam ei piisa. Et mõtteid on, oleme läbirääkimisi pidanud ka Kultuuriministeeriumiga, vaikselt areneb, on olemas ligipääsetavuse rakkerühm, kes on teinud erinevad kaardistused ära. Ehk minu sõnum on, et selleks, et me saaksime nüüd edasi minna, peavad otsustajad ehk need, kelle käes on võimevahendid, ka tegema mingid järgmised sammud, et see edasi liiguks. Siis minu jaoks oluline punkt, et selge, et kaasata tuleb selles teemas partnereid. Partneritel samas peab olema valmidus ka olla kaasatud. Ehk mida ma olen ka erinevatel kogunemistel pannud ka erinevate erivajadustega inimeste liitudele südamele. Et ootame natukene ka teie poolt seda valmisolekut meid nõustada ja aidata. Ja olgu ära öeldud, me ei eelda, et see on tasuta. Ehk see võiks mõneti olla ka äkki teie liitude võimalus teenida natukene oma tulu. Vaadata üle meie kodulehekülg, ma tean, esimesed lahendused on juba tulnud, ligipääsuke on olemas, aga tulla ja vaadata üle ka meie hooned, pakkuda nõu. Täna mina tegelikult ei tea, mis see ametlik kanal on, kuhu ma saaksin selleks pöörduda. Järjepidevus, järjekindlus, heasoovlikkus. Et kõigil valdkondadel on oma eripärad ja teatril samamoodi. Aga kuskil keskel on alati lahendus, nii nagu te nägite ka siin, et erivajadusega inimestel on ka erinevad soovid, kes soovib, et etendus oleks viipekeeletõlkega, kes et ta oleks subtiitritega, nii nagu selle tahvli puhul, et kas reljeefsed või taktiilsed tavalised ladinatähed on vajalikud või mitte, et inimestel on erinevad soovid. Aga me saame kindlasti kuskil keskel kokku. Ja väga paljud need mured, millega me püüame tegeleda, tegelikult ei ole ainult erivajadusega inimeste mured. Näiteks see, et sa ei saa õhtul teatrietenduselt koju või Tartust Tallinnasse tagasi sõita, see on absoluutselt laiem teema. Ja puudutab kõiki teatris käijaid, mitte ainult erivajadusega inimesi. Ma võtan tänasest päevast kaasa väga mitu head mõtet. Näiteks majade audiokirjeldused, see kindlasti ei ole miljoneid nõudev lahendus. Ma arvan, et see on täiesti tehtav ka Vanemuise majade puhul. Ja kõige lõpetuseks minu poolt hästi suur tänu Eesti Teatri Agentuurile, et te selle päeva ette võtsite. Ma arvan, et see on oluline. Aitäh!
Aitäh! Ja aplaus vähe tugevam. Ja oleme toitunud ja tõepoolest teema on nii vajalik. Ja
Kas ma peaksin küsimusi ootama?
Jaa, pead. Sellepärast, et see meie abivahend siin, pilt läks tasku.
Kas saalist on küsimusi? Keegi tahab käega märku anda?
Ma teen on mõni käsi? Ei ole hetkel. Ma teen siit ühe küsimuse otse lahti. Pimedatel võiks olla sarnaselt Eesti Pimedate Raamatukogu heliraamatutega juurdepääs teatrietenduste helisalvestistele.
Ma ei tea, et meil oleks teatrietenduste helisalvestisi.
Kas teab keegi saalist kommenteerida? Sülvi, kas sa?
Tegelikult tehakse ju juba kirjeldustõlke tegemise jaoks, tehakse videosalvestuse. Ja neid ju kasutatakse põhjaks, pluss siis sellele
ülekandest ei jõua jutt.
kokku lõigatuna. Nii et ta on failine.
Ja ma ütlen mikrofoni sisse, et Sülvi Sarapuu kommenteeris teemat, et tegelikult teatrid salvestavad oma etendusi, ehk siis video salvestavad, millega kaasas käib ka helisalvestus ja need materjalid on olemas. Ja ennist me rääkisime Sülviga näiteks lõunalauas just see, et kui teatrietendusele on tehtud juba kirjeldustõlge, siis see töö on nii suur ära tehtud. Ühe korra teda seal laivis loetakse ette, aga kui nüüd teatrietendusi kõiki ju ka teater enda tarvis, eks ole, video salvestab arhiivi jaoks ja sisseõppimiste jaoks ja nii, siis kas see kirjeldustõlge võiks olla üks võimalus ka, ma ei tea, Rahvusringhäälingu puhul ja et see kirjeldustõlge oleks teatrietendustel, mida saab hiljem ikka ja jälle järgi vaadata?
Tuleviku teema.
Jaa, et ideid ja mõtteid on. Tahab saalist keegi küsida?
Praegu mitte. Lähme hooga siis külalistega edasi.
Jaa, see on tore. Sa saad järgmist seda teemapäeva modereerida. Võtsid praegu mõnusasti üle. Aitäh ja nüüd on minu jaoks väljakutse nimetada 2 nime. Meie Leedu kolleegid Lina Laura Švedaite ja Mantas Stabacinskas. Kas ta tunnevad ära? Yes, jumal tänatud. Ja aitäh, Karin Allik, tule sina ka siis siia ja läheme teemaga üle. Kõrvaklapid on siin ukse juures, kes soovivad saada, vestlus toimub inglise keeles, kes soovivad saada eestikeelset tõlget, küsige, me toome klapid või tulge ise, kes saavad alla tulla ja tiitrid ikkagi tõlge jookseb eesti keeles ka tekstina ekraanil. Kumbale? Kirjutustõlke ekraanil, eks ole? Ma näitan õiges suunas. Ja andke käega saalist märku, kellel on vaja kõrvaklappe, et saada inglise keelest eestikeelseks tõlgitud teksti. Olge head.
Tere minu poolt ka, ma teen kiire sissejuhatuse eesti keeles ka. Mina olen Karin Allik, töötan Eesti Teatri Agentuuris, üks tänase päeva korraldajatest. Ja nüüd ma tõesti alustan ingliskeelset vestlust meie leedu kolleegidega. Ja tutvustan nagu lihtsalt lühidalt eesti keeles selle põhjuse ära, miks me otsustasime just nemad siia kutsuda. Et sügisel õnnestus minul ja mõnel kolleegil veel näha Vilniuses ühte etendust, kus siis minu kõrval istuvad olid dramaturg ja koreograaf. Ja selle etenduse etendajad olid kõik erivajadustega inimesed. Ja see inspireeriski meid siis Mantast ja Lina Laurat siia täna kutsuma, et uurida natukene selle sama lavastuse kohta ja rääkida ka Leedu teatri ligipääsetavusest laiemalt. Okay, now I'll switch to English, so you won't feel left out. First of all, I'm very happy to have you here, just to fly you over here to have this conversation. It's very, very honorable for me. And so, as I told the audience, the idea to invite you over here was born when me and my colleagues saw your performance Feast in Oskar Koršunovo Teatres. And well, as it had performers with different disabilities, I believed that it could be a very interesting case study, let's say, for this seminar day. But first of all, please introduce yourselves a bit and maybe just in a few words, what's your previous experience in working with disabilities and people with different disabilities?
So first of all, thank you for inviting us. Today with Mantas, we were talking about this discussion and we realized that we are nervous because it's a very subtle topic. So I'm a writer, a playwright, and recently I have become editor-in-chief of one of the oldest cultural journals in Lithuania. And besides this project, I have been in 2 other projects related to disability, but this was different experience because I would call it as an example of abusing the topic of disability in order to more easily get the money from the state, because disability awareness actually at the moment is becoming fashionable in Lithuania, which is good because I think the most disabled performer that I have been working with is our society, which actually lives in an illusion of normal and not normal, and which cannot accept the most normal thing, differences. So.
Hi, hello. So my name is Mantas, and I'm a dancer. Freelance dancer. I'm a choreographer, and yes, so I joined this piece, and it was not my first time that I worked with people with special needs. We did one other project that it was 3 girls with the physical disability, and what else I do? With one dance company that we do performances for the babies, but on the same time we have the projects with the kids who has special needs too. So we do have performances for them, and we dance with them on the same time. And I teach weekly class for people with special needs in my city, Kaunas, because I'm from Kaunas, I'm not from Vilnius. And the recent thing, what's kind of new for me, so it's this European project that is 5 countries, and we learn how to give the dance, how to give the dance classes for people with Parkinson's. So we started, we're still learning. It's kind of new thing, and it's just maybe the second week that we started to have weekly dance classes with them. So it's kind of interesting, and yeah, so this is what I do.
Thank you for this introduction. So let's move on to the performance feast, or actually earlier on we discussed that maybe it's better to translate it as celebration. If I remember correctly, it's ŠVENTE in Lithuanian, and yeah, perhaps in Estonian tähistamine or tähtpäev or something like that. But where did the process for feast begin? What was the initial idea, or who began thinking about it?
So here we should mention a theater director, Kamila Gudmonaite, who basically focused in her creations on marginalized groups, and she always tries to create or looks for a dialogue between different parts of society. And since 10% of Lithuania's population has special needs or disabilities, it's actually a big number. And at least in Lithuania, even in Vilnius, we don't see these people in public spaces. They are separated, they hide themselves. And Camilla's idea was to bring them on stage and to show them that they exist. And she wanted to give a voice to them. And when I was invited to work on this project, I was interested by the documentary part, because I believe that documentary will save the world. And only after I realized that I will be working with a specific group.
Yes, and like those people that you see it here, we have this one theater in Vilnius. They have it, and it's called New Theater. So they do have some kind of performances, and I think Camilla, she knew them in the past, you know, and she met them a few times. And the funny thing, when we started to work, they thought that it's just that will be some kind of like classical play, but later they find out it will be documentary play about themselves.
So the performers had some experience before.
Yes, many of them they have, but like this maybe 2 or 3 of them that they were kind of like the new members of the theater, and they never have been on the stage. And it was kind of interesting because the new people, they were like really open about it, you know, because some other ones, they have the knowledge what the theater is, you know. Sometimes I don't see that it's a good knowledge because they like really a bit close-minded in sometimes, but yeah, but they have experience.
Mm-hmm. And did you also have certain criteria for the performance? I mean, did you look for certain disabilities or certain special needs to have a very diverse group of people on the stage? Because I think each person on the stage had a different special need.
So Camilla launched a casting, and each had to show something to perform. And actually, finally, she accepted everyone. And later on, some performance, they dropped out. And also, when we started creating the dramaturgy, we kind of gave attention to each kind of disability. We tried to.
Because, you know, the thing is that I joined later to this process. I came in the middle of it. So when I came, they all they already had some stuff. So for me, because I was the new one, so I started to give some warm-up classes to know them better. And then I heard the stories, and this is how we started. This is how I started, you know. So yeah, so I was not in the beginning, but for me it was new because I never worked with Laura. I never worked with them. So yeah, so it was kind of the new thing for me.
Mm-hmm. And what were your personal fears or hesitations concerning this rehearsal process and the performances?
I think I was, because I had some experiences before, so for me it was not the new thing, you know, to work with them. But so I came as a blank page, you know. I was just like really open about it because I was not sure where the girls will go with this piece. So yeah, so for me it was like this.
I personally, before the first meeting with the actors, I was thinking a lot, like, how should I communicate with them? What words should I use? And then later on, I understood that it was pretty stupid because we have just to communicate, you know, like, we are all people. So, but the main fear that I had and that I'm still questioning is that I don't have like any disability, and I don't have experience with this. So I don't, in our world, it's very usual to patronize these minority groups when, like, white people talk instead of, for example, African Americans, and here's the same. And I didn't want to impose my point of view of disability. I wanted that they talk about themselves. So, and it was challenging, this part.
I think what was for me a big surprise when I joined this team, that after some time, I saw that they are hiding the, you know, special needs, and they are trying to act normal. And for me, it was like, wow, it's really strange. And there was one girl that was all the time swinging, you know, and the other, you know, colleagues were like, don't do that, sit still, you know, act like normal. And I was like, really like, what? Like, come on, guys, we should accept each other. And we are talking now this piece, and we are talking about you, and you still, you know, kind of pretending that you are normal. And yeah, so that was for me quite a big shock, you know, yeah.
Yeah, but actually, it's great that you mentioned this rocking part, because this became a big symbol in the performance, because the girl just developed this motion of rocking into rocking as in rock music and dancing, kind of.
Yeah, because for many years she said, so many people told me, stop to swing, you know, stop to do this. And then we had this part where she has her solo, when she is like a sing, I heard so many times, and I was calling like different names, and they always wanted me to act normal. So we took that swinging, and we did this kind of like a play that she goes from the small swinging to kind of metal rock music, and then she's like really letting herself out, and she swings like different way. And I think in the end she's saying, I'm swinging and I wanna swing, you know. Yes.
And I would like to add here, because this is the culmination of the performance, and this monologue that she is saying, it's very open, and she the girl, she becomes very vulnerable because it's her words, it's her story. And actually, because of this part of the performance, 3 other actors dropped out. They refused to participate in this performance because for them it was too difficult to open up about this.
So they compared themselves to
Yes.
this other performer who could open up that well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because they didn't want to be identified with her.
Okay.
Yes.
And I also very much like the fact that you brought out this aspect of overthinking when it comes to communicating with people with special needs. Because also preparing this event, I was also a bit anxious about how to communicate in order to not, I don't know, say wrong words or whatever. So I was perhaps overthinking a lot. And when my colleagues told me that they are also regular people, they know how to communicate themselves, and if anything's bothering them, they'll tell you. And that's actually a very simple idea, but it took down this anxiety of mine, kind of, and I really like that. But were there any other like ethical dilemmas for you inside this process?
So, as I mentioned before, for me it was the ethical dilemma to give them their voice and to let them tell what they want to tell. Because in the process with Camille, we were developing the idea, and we wanted to create a manifest of not normal, that it's very good to be not normal, but we felt that they don't want to talk in this manner. They want to talk in another way. So the first part of dramaturgy is purely documentary, and my goal was not to change anything in the stories that they told us during those 6 months.
And to reflect on my personal experience during the performance as well, perhaps the most important ethical dilemma that I had during the performance was exactly about this personality or intimacy that they have on the stage, because they are normal people that are coming on the stage and telling their own stories and very much opening up and becoming vulnerable to the audience. So how did you support them in this rehearsal process in order for them to feel safe on the stage and be ready to open up for the audience?
So, as far as I remember, we were in the process of creation. We were asking them questions, and and we were all the time trying to understand if they are okay with what's happening. And it took 6 months to come on the stage. So I think
you rehearsed for 6 months with the troupe?
yes.
Oh, okay.
So I think that they got used to the nature of theater.
Yes, I think when I worked with them, I see that what was kind of lack for me, it was like to have the patience, because sometimes you work and you have the goal and you do, and one day it's like, oh, okay, we have it, it's there. The next day we're coming, again, you need to start from the beginning, and then you're like, okay, I need to take it a bit slower. And but I think it's because we're so used to in our lives to run and go, you know, do like 5 different jobs at once, you know. And here you need to like really focus and be there for them. And yes.
Like also Camilla, in the middle of the process, she realized that all the methods that she learned at academy, that they are suitable for body-abled people, and that actually any method that she knows doesn't work, and that she has to search for new methods. She has to experiment. And that was the most beautiful moment of creation, because she just relaxed and she went with the flow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perhaps that's an important takeaway for the studies of performing arts as well, because I think in 2023 now it's the last time, or you know, it should have happened earlier, but now we should start turning more attention to the fact that not all people have the same bodies or the same needs, and we cannot just teach everybody the same way, or also think about the actors or the dancers or whoever goes on stage the same way, because they also could have disabilities or special needs.
And I think what was for them quite difficult after we had the premiere, you know, they went, they tell the stories, and it was like a good, but then when you have the performance for the 5th or the 6th show, and you need to do it again and again, and they like, yeah, but now I don't care, you know, because I all let it go, and and for them it was difficult to talk about that again in the same, like with the same feeling, you know. But yeah, it was in the middle, but now they are okay. But every time we are coming, we have like maybe if we have the show at 7, so we meet at 1, we go like really slowly, we go through all the piece, some parts, you know, and yeah.
And for one question, coming back to the dramaturgy as well, what were the questions you asked the performers when you started to compose this documentary piece?
So these were all kinds of questions. We tried to understand, like, how do they function in this world, and we also tried to push the limits. We tried to talk also about like sexual experiences and other intimate topics, but yeah, like not all the questions were answered. But since we had like a long time for the research, we talked about everything, like how they celebrate, what I don't know, what biggest traumas in their childhood they had, like what's their favorite, how do they perceive colors. Like for me it was also new information. Yeah, it's strange to tell this, that it's new information for me, but that people who cannot see since they are born, they don't know what color is, and things like that.
So, as you said, new information, but what were some other takeaways for you as artists or as people from this process?
So, as an artist, I met the world that I didn't know, and also since this project, I started hating a word integration, because I think it's integration. It just shows that we can, that our society cannot accept differences. And so now, as an artist, I refuse to work in projects that integrate something.
Yeah, for me it's always hard to say like that word disability, because when you work with them, they have like, we call it, because not in this piece, but in other piece, we call the piece superpowers. So for me, like there are people with the superpowers, you know. And as an artist, I really like to dive into the new waters. And for me, like this, to work with people with special needs, and there's so many different special needs, and you can even go and focus into the one, and there's even the new ocean, you know, open. So yes, I think with this project, like specifically, I not knew much about the mental mental disorder, because we have one actress that she's having schizophrenia, and I didn't know nothing about it, you know. So it was for me like really nice to know more about it, and to know that sometimes she has bad days, sometimes she has good days. And yeah, there was, I think once we supposed to have the show, and maybe 1 week before the show she said, guys, I don't feel well and I think I cannot do this show. So we said, yeah, it's totally fine, and we just waited for 1 month when she will be able to do the show. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to take my microphone in my hand, I think, because it keeps on moving away from me. Ow! Okay, I hope it's fine for the technician. Is it okay? Okay, good. Anyway, but coming back to the integration, what would be a proper word instead of integration then? Because it also is a bit connected to accessibility. Well, the name of our seminar day today is Theater and Accessibility. And in Estonian teater, ligipääsetavus, it sounds too long or a bit awkward, not very comfortable to say. So are there any good synonyms for those words of integration and accessibility, or also disabilities or special needs perhaps? Are there any?
So I don't know if I'm the best person to answer, because I think we should ask people with special needs what they think about this. But if still I am sitting here, so I will answer. In my opinion, a word should be communication, because when we don't know someone, we come to him or her and we communicate. And communication is about asking questions and trying to understand the other. So I think that we still lack this will to understand and to communicate.
Mm-hmm. But is there anything essentially different in working with performers with disabilities than working with performers with regular bodies or minds?
Of course it's different, but like I said, like for me, what I kind of see it on myself, that I just need, like about this, listen and be patient, and you know that it will take some time, a bit more, but it's like a really worth to try, you know, and to work like this, and especially, listen what they want and how they see their ways. Yes, so it's like about maybe that.
Mm-hmm. So actually, it's the same thing with regular performers, especially in contemporary performing arts, that a performer is not like a puppet on the stage, but you have to listen to their opinions and their thoughts as well. So actually, performers with disabilities fit into this contemporary performing arts very well. Yeah. Also, I mentioned earlier, I think that I had never seen a performance that only had disabled performers on stage before I came to see Feast. Because I think in Estonia, probably it has been done. We had one example here in a previous presentation as well, but not very often. So what's the situation in Lithuania? How often do you see disabled performers on the stage? And perhaps also how often you see disabled people in the audience in theaters?
So I just can say that there are like 2 professional actors. Yes, one actor, he made a performance about schizophrenia, and another about his daughter who has Down syndrome.
So yeah, so this is like professional actors, and the rest, like you can count on 1 or 2 hands. It's not many, like really. And so we have the Feast, we had the other one with 3 girls that I said, and we call it Superpowers. This dance, I think, performance one with one guy with the Down syndrome. But what I see and what it would be the next step for us, because we have like now 2 shows like this that is kind of like a documentary theater play, but I'm keep thinking what would be the next step. And yeah, the next step, I think it could be that we see the more people on, you know, professional stage doing not just like documentary theater, but even maybe classical play, you know.
Hamlet in a wheelchair,
Hamlet,
for example,
yeah.
something very, you know, out of the box, I would say.
Yes.
But in the audience.
Yes, I've heard that in the National Theatre there is all the equipment for blind people, so it's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But of course, we don't see much in the audience, because I think still, like, especially people with the wheelchair, in some theaters they cannot, you know, like they don't have accessibility to get in, so they need to ask the help, and I think they don't want to ask the help. So I know that in Kaunas Drama Theatre, I think they have some few plays that it's with the sign language, you know, but it's like we don't see many.
And also, like your event, it impressed me a lot. Yes, you look very well prepared, because like even our performance, during the process we were thinking that we should make a performance that would be suitable for all kinds of people, but eventually we somehow didn't do that. So it's not perfect, because it talks about disability, but it is shown in a theater where, like, the stage is on the 3rd floor with stairs and yeah, but not all people can access this performance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, as I told you earlier, one of the reasons why we thought it would be interesting to have guests from Lithuania is that when we would invite people from Scandinavia, then we would always have this excuse that, okay, but they have so much more money, they're so much more developed. But when we invite guests from other Baltic countries, we kind of understand that we're on the same level, and we have a long way to go. But so you said earlier that it's becoming a trend to think about and talk about accessibility in Lithuania. Is it also a trend in the theater field for theaters to start thinking about it? Because when you say that, okay, perhaps you don't know all the information as well, but when you say that there's only the National Theatre which has equipment for disabled people, that's very little for the whole Lithuania, because Lithuania is bigger than Estonia, but we have I don't know, at least 5 or 6 theaters, for example, with a system for people with, how to say it in English, hearing disabilities. Yeah, silmusvõimendid pean silmas. So perhaps could you comment on how far are your theaters in general with the topic?
So I might sound pessimistic, but I think while talking about theater structure, we should talk about the whole attitude, like state attitude towards disability. And for example, I live in Vilnius, and I can see that the whole architecture is created for the body-abled people, and also not for mothers with strollers, with the babies. So I think that theater is just, one structure in the whole picture. And yes, also this performance showed me that I grew up in a world suitable for healthy, like body-abled people, not even for old people. So I think that like in Lithuania, we have a very, very long way to go. And in theater, I don't know if there is like, if any agency takes care of this part. Maybe Mantas knows more.
No, Mantas doesn't know more, but I could see I'm in this field for maybe now 5 years. So when you go there, when you there, you see these changes, and they are coming. Like in the theater, there is, but it's like really little steps. But at least we are talking about this, but of course we need to take the actions and do something more about it.
But what's the main obstacle, in your opinion? Is it money? Is it motivation, knowledge? What else?
So I think that the main obstacle is just lack of empathy. And I think that, I don't know how it is in Western world, but I suppose as Scandinavian countries, they all have more money, and they maybe, in some cases, they are further than us. But I think that we, as post-Sovietic countries, we have this still heritage of like dividing everything into normal and not normal, and we are judging a lot, and hopefully the new generations, they will act differently. But what I see that we lack just simple empathy towards the other, and money can't buy this. So we first have to change ourselves.
I think sometimes we just, afraid to go there where is something we don't know. and we're just afraid to try. And I think that's why sometimes artists, they afraid to go and work with people with special needs, because they think that they should, I don't know, work somehow differently. But when I'm coming to work, I'm coming really open and kind of like, I'm not actually afraid to say that I don't know many things. So you can teach me many things and I can teach you what I know, you know, and then it's this like a meeting point. And, but what sometimes I lack, because we do have some projects that goes for 1 week, there's like a workshops for 1 week, and then you see like really beautiful things could happen, but then you leave. And you know, so what I really try to say to my colleagues, we need to have this, you know, continuation. So I started, like for example, I started this workshops that I had 3 years ago with one group with people with special needs. And then I said, Mantas, you need to kind of continue what you started, you know. And of course you can't do every day, but now at least we are meeting once a week. And that for me is good because, yeah, it's this, you know, continuation, collaboration, meeting each other, you know, and this is, I think, really important.
Yeah, thank you. These are both very important ideas, both the empathy and continuity. And also what I would perhaps add is that it's kind of a cursed circle, I would say, because right now, when we don't see people with disabilities in the theater audience, for example, it seems as if there are no people that have disabilities. We don't need to have, you know, all those possibilities for them because there are no people that need them. But the reason that we don't see them is because they don't have those possibilities right now. So if there would be better facilities, a better accessibility for them, then we would see them more. And I think that's something to keep in mind, that they are maybe not always in our sight, but it doesn't mean that they don't exist and we don't have to take them into account.
Yes, and to like add to your idea, I think that at least in Lithuania, I know how it is in Estonia, but if we know that 10% of population have special needs, so it means that like if there are 10 people, one has the special needs. So if we have 10 friends, then one of them has to have special needs. So if we don't have a friend with special needs, it's very bad.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from the audience or from Slido? Oh.
Ma tulen mikrofoniga siiapoole, sobib nõnda. Siin on väiksed takistused, karusloomad maas.
Actually, I have both a comment and a question to you, because I'll want to start with a recollection of a very beautiful performance that took place some years ago, exactly on this stage. And it was a dance production called Rave Machine by 2 Austrian choreographers. And one of them was Doris Ulich, and the other was Michael Turinsky, who is a dancer and choreographer in a wheelchair. And it was a very, very beautiful performance because we had both a very powerful, warm, skilled woman on stage, and then we had a dancer in a wheelchair, and it was so beautiful to see how they interacted with each other. And at the end of the show, Michael Turinsky really was able to stand up and make a few steps forward. And it was an extremely beautiful and moving performance. And after that, I started to think that maybe it would be much more accommodating if we saw both people with special needs and regular people on stage. This time, assuming from the performance that you were describing, you had just people with special needs on stage. And I assume your aim was actually, as we all assume, to increase awareness and also acceptance and tolerance. How can you say from your feedback to the show, did you achieve your aim with your performance?
So actually it's a little lie because I'm kind of part 2 of that show, but I'm kind of like acting as an audience, and just later on the show I joined the team because we just somehow felt that they feel more safe when I'm there. And you know, because there were some times that like we have one moment when the guy is always had the white page, you know. He was just like he really kind of didn't know what to do. So somehow then, like really naturally, I kind of stepped in and helped him. And then we're like, okay, maybe you need to stay here, and maybe I need to be with them because some of them, they feel more safe, you know. And I think we reach our goals because I could see that they reached their goals, because before we had the show and the first time when we had the show, none of them, they had their friends or the family because they were really kind of afraid, you know, to have them. And after the show, when we had like really good critics and they felt kind of safe, and I think they kind of did that step, you know, forward. So then just on the third show, like we saw the family members, we saw the friends, and then I was like, okay, so now they feel safe and they kind of, yeah, they did that big step forward.
And I think that our goal was also just to create a space for the audience to experience what disability is. And so this goal was reached.
Kristiina.
Hi, everyone. First of all, please let me compliment you, because I'm one of the lucky ones who was able to see the performance in Vilnius. And I was really, really grateful. Thank you very much. What impressed me the most was, one of the things was that I could see how comfortable they felt on stage, meaning that you had worked a lot with them and created like a safe environment that kind of brought them to the next level. You could see the freedom of an artist pretty much happening on stage. But another thing that really impressed me was that like the whole performance came together as whole, like dramaturgically, what's the word? Dramaturgically, it was like a performance that had the beginning, the middle part, and the end. Was that your plan from the beginning? Is that how you started to work, like to create it as a full performance?
You are talking about the dramaturgy, yes? The structure. Yes, yeah, exactly. So, yes, first we created this documentary part, and after it came naturally that we have to look for a metaphor to lift the whole idea of the performance, and we thought about different symbols, and I read about this Louis Armstrong, the first man on the moon, and after actually when in his older days he shared his experience that after coming from the moon he was annoyed by the fact that people, they started seeing him as the first man on the moon, the first astronaut who landed on the moon, and not as Louis Armstrong. And this idea resonated a lot with actors, because they also feel that they are judged and they are seen like people are looking at their bodies and at disabilities, but they don't see what's inside. So yeah, it was, we created the dramaturgy, but while creating the dramaturgy, Camilla started already working with the actors. So it was a simultaneous process.
Okay, I think it's now time for us to sum up this discussion. I would like to thank you very much for coming here today and sharing your experience. And I hope this will inspire Estonian performing artists as well. Thank you.
So thank you so much for having us, really.
You're welcome.
Ja aitäh ja suur aplaus meie kolleegidele Leedust. Thank you very much. Nüüd on paslik lugeda ette üks väike lõik siit Slido programmist. Et kuidas teha nii, et ligipääsetavus oleks ühiskonnas rohkem mõistetud ja osa normaalsusest? Ja kodanik Anonüümus siin kõneleb. Pakkuda rohkem võimaluse kaasamiseks, mida rohkem ühiskonnas on näha erivajadusega inimesi tegutsemas, seda normaalsemaks see muutub ja see läbi muutub ka nende kasutuskogemus ja mugavamaks. Et üha enam asutusi ja inimesi saavad kogemusi ligipääsetavuse eri aspektidest. Täpselt see sama kaasamine, koos tegemine, märkamine. Nüüd on kohvipaus, 15 minutit ja siis tuleme tagasi lõpuaruteluks. Aitäh! Ütlen kella ka. Kas on 16.05 on siis tagasi, jah? Sobib nii. Paneme siis kellad 16.05.